Welcome to the Christmas Connection, where the magic of the season comes alive. Join your host, Dawn Mack, as she connects you to the heart of the holidays. From cherished traditions and inspiring stories to conversations with the people who make this time of year truly special. So grab a cup of cocoa, get comfy by the tree, and let's celebrate the joy of the season together. This is the Christmas Connection.
Hello and welcome to the show. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome a guest whose career has truly spanned the best of television and film. From Without a Trace to Nashville and an incredible lineup of heartfelt holiday movies, Eric Close has become a familiar face audiences trust to bring warmth, integrity, and authenticity to every role he takes on. He stars in the brand new theatrical release, All Is Merry and Bright, opening in theaters November 7th, a film that's sure to become a holiday favorite for the entire family. We're diving into what drew him to the story, the heart behind his work, and the message he hopes audiences will take home this Christmas. Here's my conversation with the incredibly talented Eric Close. Well, hello, Eric, and welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for making the time.
It's great to be with you, Dawn.
Thanks. Well, I want to start off because throughout your career, you have played many characters that embody quiet strength and integrity. And what do you think has been the most rewarding part of your journey as an actor?
I would say the part that's been most rewarding for me is all the different people I've had a chance to meet and interact with throughout my career. I'm so grateful for what I get to do for a living. And it's given me opportunities to travel the world, meet lots of different people and work with lots of really creative people and made some pretty good friendships along the way too. So that's been for me the biggest part of it.
Yeah, that's quite a gift because you have met quite a few people in your career for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Long list. Well, some might say that being an actor is the epitome of getting to play make-believe or, pretend at the highest level. And what is one role that actually challenged and stretched you both, the most of your entire career?
I feel stretched in different ways. I mean, there's the role that can stretch you, and then you add in a lot of outside elements. First thing that comes to mind for me is, like you think about Leonardo DiCaprio working on The Revenant and having to deal with the brutal weather conditions. So that stretches you a bit. But, I think that for me, it's been different. It's been different aspects. I think back to Now and Again when I was working on Now and Again, and the level of fitness I had to maintain for that role was very challenging because on top of the emotional aspect of the character, this guy who is longing to be with his family again but can't. And then, so just as an actor, enjoying that process. But then the whole physical aspect, I was working sometimes 18-hour days. And then I still had to get into the gym, at the 24-hour fitness to, keep my physical workouts consistent. So I was exhausted. I was having a great time. So that was, I would say that was something that stretched me. But I really feel that, every role challenges you. One that's kind of a departure that's been a lot of fun to play is my character Travis Tanner on Suits. Obviously there's elements of me in Travis, but that was a fun character to embody that, is quite a bit different than me. But was a lot of fun and really resonated with a lot of people, around the world. It's crazy. I've been, when I've traveled over to Europe and people coming up to me and going, "Oh, I love you on Suits." It's fun. So that, and, getting that kind of feedback, you're doing a good job and that's important. You want people to be entertained and that you're servicing that story or that, the overall series or movie that you're in. So that's been a lot of fun too.
Well, in addition to your success as an actor, you've also had the opportunity to direct. And so how has that changed, like the way you approach when you're in front of the camera now, having been on the other side of the camera?
Dawn, that's a great question. And, you know, for me, what really helped me when I started directing is it helped me to relax more as an actor, because you see a lot of different things from a perspective that you normally don't see as an actor. And I would say the same thing for directors who get a chance to act. You know, directors have been encouraged to take acting classes just to get a sense of what it feels like to be in front of the camera, you know, being vulnerable emotionally, physically, whatever you're doing. And so I think it benefits both sides to kind of get a bit of that experience. But for myself, having really come from acting into directing, you know, it helped me to just sort of relax and not overthink things. I got more comfortable. You know, people that I've worked with might, you know, in the early days would say, "Oh boy, he always wanted another," because I was kind of striving for this unattainable perfection in a role or in a scene. And you come to realize at a certain point that that's just unattainable. And what's most important is that you do your homework, you're prepared, you come in and you give it everything you got, and you could get it in one take, and you just have to be willing to walk away with that. And so I guess it's just kind of like, don't sweat the small stuff sometimes, and give yourself permission to fall on your face and make mistakes, and then trust also that the director knows what they want in a scene, and that they're going to be in the editing room later so they can fix things. If there's a moment they don't particularly care for, they can cut away to something else. You know, there's myriad of things you can do as a director, but that really freed me up as an actor, which I was really grateful for.
Well, and having the experience as an actor, when you took on the whole opportunity to direct, I mean, you're able to talk to the actors and say, hey, because you could totally identify with any angst or anxiety or just whatever they might be feeling in that moment, because you've done it, you've lived it, you know. And so that's a great.
Yeah, you have to be a psychologist in the sense as a director, because you're dealing with many different personalities. You know, you're people and different processes. You know, so people process their or approach a role differently, and so you're bringing a lot of different elements. So you have to be flexible. I mean, I think if you're too rigid, you're gonna bump up against some resistance. And as a director, you really want to allow the actors to feel that they're being creative, the choices that they have the freedom to make choices and try things. But at the same time, I believe actors, for the most part, want to feel that the director that they're trusting is going to come in and give them notes on their performance or whatever, that they care as much about what they're doing as the actors do. So I often come in, the way I like to do is I like to come in prepared and say, hey, I have a few ideas. Here's kind of a loose blueprint of what I'm looking to do. And then let's work within those parameters. And it could be something as simple as like, hey, I'd love you to come in that door and maybe end up on the couch over here, or come in that door and at the end of the scene, exit that door, you know, or go out that door. Something as simple as that, but it gives them some space, but some parameters to kind of work in, like a beginning, middle, and end kind of deal. And then they can work within that space. And then they might say, hey, what if I came from here? Or what if I was already in the room? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, that makes sense. I could see why you would already be here. I had a moment working with Bradley Cooper and Clint Eastwood on American Sniper, and I had kind of come up with some ideas, and Clint came into the room on a break from another scene, and he and I talked through the blocking of the scene, and I made a couple suggestions. And one of the suggestions I made, he said, no, you know, I think I would rather you exit this scene as opposed to staying in the scene, even though it's written that way. And so we ended up exiting the scene, and he had an idea in his head that by having us exit that scene, he had to change a few other things because it changed the timeline. It altered the timeline, But what was really cool about what he did is it made the story move faster. It kept this sense of urgency. So that was, that's one of those situations where you may have an idea, but then someone has an idea that works better. And obviously, you're usually not going to question Clint Eastwood.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Oh, no, he's done it. He's been around the block a few times.
He's quite the visionary, he's done this a time or two, right? Well, looking back, fans, they followed your journey through, such a wide range of roles. And how do you think Eric Close, the actor, has evolved through the years? And what do you know now about storytelling that you wish you'd known in the beginning?
What do I wish I had known in the beginning? It kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. But I think it's part of the process. You have to go through it. I'm listening to this audiobook right now about the tennis player Andre Agassi and how he strived to be perfect in his matches, and it hurt him. And when he started to just trust the process and just be in the moment and hit the ball and not think I have to hit the perfect shot every time, just play the ball, it freed him up, and then he started winning Grand Slams. And I kind of learned that as well. The other thing that I learned is that stories evolve even once you're up and running on production. You want it. It's sort of like what I was saying about kind of having a blueprint of wanting to come into a scene and, say, hey, here's kind of how I'd like to see it from a director's standpoint. But also within a script, I mean, there occasionally is a brilliant script where you don't want to change anything. But for the most part, there are, when you have a collaboration and everybody comes together, you can make a good script great, a good story great, or better. And it's important to be open to those ideas. And so that was something that I really learned along the way. I don't know that I wish I'd known that earlier, because I just was kind of learning that as I went along. Mm-hmm. But basically the biggest one was just learn to relax and be okay with making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And because it's a forgiving process. And, when we try too hard, it can actually kind of hamstring you. You ask anybody who's been around for a long time, it's just most important thing is just do your homework, be prepared, show up, and get ready to go. Nothing bothers me more than when people show up and they're not prepared and they kind of are just, phoning it in. That's frustrating. Thankfully, it hasn't happened very often, but I've seen it a few times, and we're very fortunate to do what we do. And so it's like, I'm always like, don't take this for granted, because it can go away real quick.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations on your new holiday film, All is Merry and Bright, which happens to open, I believe, November 7th, correct?
It does. Yeah. All is Merry and Bright opens November 7th across the country in theaters. And I have to tell you, Dawn, this was one of my favorite projects to work on. So much of it is like I said at the beginning of this interview, just the relationships. And I was so fortunate to be asked to be a part of this project, and you never know who you're going to end up, what the environment's going to be like, what personalities are going to be like. But this was just an incredible group of people that were so grateful to be there. I was working with some young actors who were just kind of starting out. Some of them, this was their first job. Wow. And so to live vicariously through them, or to go back and remember what it was like, when I was first starting out, that level of excitement, and you just want to soak it all in. You're asking lots of questions. So I got to spend some really great, some quality time with these young actors and seasoned actors alike, John O'Leary and Sally Struthers and Emily Rose, who I was working with as well. Just great. And we had an absolute blast. Everybody checked their egos at the door if they had them at all, and just came there for a purpose to have fun together and make a fun story that's going to, hopefully entertain people through the holiday season and years to come. And it was just a pleasure. And the captain of the ship was Corey Edwards, the director. And I was kind of teasing him. I go, you kind of remind me a bit of Clint Eastwood, because he was like Corey's kind of a one take wonder. I mean, he would do a take and he'd say, "Oh, I'm good. I'm ready to move on." And I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome." So he was very confident in his process. He's very funny. Corey's a comedian himself. He's a comedic writer. So he was good at, throwing out fun ideas and silly ideas that we all just sort of embraced and were excited about, trying to, execute. And so he did a great job, and we zipped through those 3 or 4 weeks, however long we were there, and we just had an absolute blast. And I definitely work with him again.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for the film, and it just looks fabulous. I mean, the talent, the cast is amazing, and the story looks really sweet and heartfelt. And when I learned it was going to be in theaters, I was like, this is the kind of movie that families can go watch to kind of kick off their holiday season. And it really feels like it's going to be one of those films that people will want to watch again and again and again.
Yeah, I agree. It's and that's what I love about it too, is that the whole family can see this, and that's, this time of the year. I mean, it's always important. Family's always important, but this is the time of year where a lot of people are coming together. They're taking a little bit of a break from work or school and getting a chance just to breathe and take a break together, and have meals together and watch movies. And it's just and to be a part of that, and to know that this film will bring people together. It's like you said, it's got a great message to it. It's a message of hope and reconciliation, forgiveness. It's family, and I love that message, and I think people are going to really resonate with it, or it'll resonate with them.
When the final credits roll, what do you hope people leave the theater? What do you hope the takeaway will be for viewers?
I hope people, when they walk out of the theater, they feel good, they feel entertained, there's some joy in their heart, and then they go out to a meal, or they go home and they talk about the movie and their favorite parts, favorite scenes that they like, their favorite characters, their favorite moments, and to me that's what's important. It just creates conversation and togetherness, and everybody feels good coming out of there. And also, I hope that if there's, people that maybe are feeling some separation from somebody, or some distance, or there needs to be some reconciliation amongst friends or family members, that this movie will also inspire them to say, hey, maybe I need to pick up the phone and pass the olive branch, or, say, hey, I'm sorry, just the simple words of I'm sorry. And I could see that maybe a message that people may take away from this as well. And also, there's a theme that runs through this whole story, that's something you and I have just been talking about, is that in life we often try to control everything. We always want to feel like we're in control of life, and this movie really encourages people just to let go and trust the process of life, and not try to control everything, because it frees you up and makes life considerably better in many ways. And so that's a great message in this story, a great lesson that, the character that Emily Rose plays, Jessica, that my wife in the movie, that she really learns. We all learn something, but this is a great message in the story as well. So lots of cool themes for people to take away when they walk out of the theater.
That's wonderful. And the best movies I've found personally are the ones that I'm still talking about long after I've watched them. And then, you watch them again, and then there's something new to talk about. It's a great conversation piece, but it's a good way to unite families and people that just go and spend time together. And the holiday season, no better time for that. So looking forward to this movie for sure. Well, Eric, I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing about this movie. It's going to be great. Can't wait to see it. I've got plans to go, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much. I wish you much continued success, and as you go forward, and look forward to more stuff that you got coming out in the future. So thanks
again. That'd be great. Yeah. And then we'll jump back on the Zoom again, and have another chat. It'll be super fun. And that right over my shoulder, that's my favorite movie of all time right there. It's A Wonderful Life.
That is mine as well. Yeah. I have to me, the holiday season is official when I've sat down and watched it, so yeah, It's wonderful. Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it.
You too, Dawn.
What a joy to spend time with the incredible Eric Close, a talented actor, devoted storyteller, and someone who truly embodies the spirit of faith, family, and connection that makes the Christmas season so meaningful. I want to give a huge shout out of thanks to Eric for his time today. And you can catch Eric in All Is Merry and Bright in theaters beginning November 7th. So be sure to grab your tickets and experience this heartwarming story on the big screen. Until next time, keep celebrating the moments that bring joy, stay inspired, and remember, sometimes the brightest light of the season is found in the simplest acts of love.
Thanks for joining us for another heartwarming episode of The Christmas Connection with your host, Dawn Mack. Stay connected with us all season long at ChristmasConnects.com. Follow us on social media, on Facebook at The Christmas Connection, on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Christmas Connection Podcast, on Blue Sky at Christmas Connects, and on X at TCC_XMASPOD. From our hearts to yours, thank you for letting us be part of your holiday season. Until next time, keep believing, keep sharing the joy, and keep that Christmas spirit shining bright.